My amplified unit. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay, man. This is gonna be a short little impromptu video. If you guys saw my podcast yesterday, which was over an hour long. I don't know what the fuck I was on yesterday, man, but for those of you that love longer podcasts, congratulations. For those of you that don't like longer podcasts, stay away from yesterday's video because that motherfucker was over an hour and 10 minutes. Again, what the hell could we have possibly talked about, man? I know we talked Randy Orton and him bashing NXT, especially Tommaso Ciampa. We also talked Jeff Hardy and Sheamus' controversial segment for tonight, or supposedly that's supposed to take place. And then we went over AEW and NXT's reviews, but damn, that was a long one. It looks like you guys are enjoying it too. I checked some early numbers this morning and it looks like you guys are loving it, so that's awesome, man. Right now, I haven't a clue where I am right now, to be honest. As I told you in yesterday's podcast, I had to do a long trip down to South Carolina, and then I had to go right back up toward New York, all within about 36 hours. Is it possible? Well, we're finding out, I'll tell you that much. I'm about 20 miles away from my destination in South Carolina. That's the good news. The bad news is I just don't know where the hell I am. But full disclosure, and maybe this may be too much information, but I had to piss. So I had to pull over just 20 miles away from my destination here in South Carolina. But I found a cool little spot, and when I checked my phone, man, I just had all these messages about all these stories going on in the pro wrestling world. And I'm like, dude, I can't wait till SmackDown's review tomorrow to talk about some of this stuff. I gotta talk about my thoughts right now, man. And of course, that's Paul Heyman and Vince McMahon firing him. What the fuck's the deal on that, man? I want to touch up on that. I also want to touch up on AJ Styles and CM Punk in that situation. And I'm so proud of AJ Styles for saying something. Very little, but at least he said something to Phil Brooks, because somebody needs to shut that motherfucker up. And I'm glad AJ Styles just did it in a matter-of-fact way. But first I wanna talk about the biggest news story over the last 24 hours. This is just sweeping the pro wrestling world by storm. And again, guys, I apologize for any wind that you might be picking up on. I'm outside. It's a beautiful day, but it's a little breezy. Sometimes that affects the mic. But yeah, this news story is just, I haven't seen a big news story like this in pro wrestling in a long time. So I had to talk about it. And of course, this is the E! Network has renewed the Total Bellas for a 114th season. That's right, that's real news. The Total Bellas are returning next year for another season of Total Bellas, man. This is huge. Oh, fuck, I can't even keep a straight face. How is that new? Guys, this is all over, the most reputable of news sites when it comes to pro wrestling. This is news. I would love to know what the Total Bellas show, franchise, the Bella twins in general have to do with pro wrestling anymore. I understand Brie Bella is married to Daniel Bryan. That's where it ends. Nikki has no ties to John Cena anymore. They got a t-shirt factory company, whatever the fuck. They got a wine distribution deal. They're doing all these other things. Why are we getting anything to do with the Bellas in our pro wrestling feeds? Can we all just agree that that is done? Let's move on. Even if you're that one individual out there, basically I love the Total Bellas, man. That's great. You can love them all you want. You grab your juice box and your crayons and your coloring book and simmer down. All right? Decompress for a minute. Nobody is attacking your Bellas. But I am in amazement of how much Bella Twins news I see in my pro wrestling feed. And for what? It's done. They were with WWE full-time for just a few years. They've moved on. It was clear that was never their main goal. In fact, halfway through their run, They left WWE for a movie career. That fell flat. They came back to WWE. These are facts. You ain't gotta like them, but they're facts. The Bellas have told you, in their own words, they left to do other things in entertainment. It didn't work out, so they came back to WWE. No harm, no foul. Mixed with some injuries, you could say, but also the fact that that wasn't their end game to begin with. That only lasted another couple years. And then they were back out. And now clearly they have moved on. And I think that's best for everybody. But you can't move on if we're still talking about you. Right? It's like a relationship. If you have an ex that you're trying to forget about and you meet somebody new, are you going to be at the dinner table with your new girlfriend or your new boyfriend and constantly talk about your ex? No. Let's move on from the Bellas. It was a few years, I understand. If it's something that is an actual news topic for pro wrestling, then I understand. But just telling us that they've been renewed for 114th season of Total Bellas, which you will not ever find me watching 60 seconds of. It just won't happen. To me, it's a bootleg Kardashians. Hold on, I got a fucking train storming by here. That was a fast fucking train, man. That was like 210. They give zero fucks. Anyway, honestly, guys, to anybody that runs a reputable wrestling news site, and I thank you for doing such. You guys work tirelessly to bring the news to those that want it in pro wrestling. But damn, the Bellas are no longer news. Or if you're going to put them in the news, make sure it's actually news. All right, moving on, because I can speak on this for 20 minutes. I can speak on anything, really, for 20 minutes. My Ma Dukes used to say I got the gift to gab. If you're ever planning on having a coffee with good old BC, make sure you mark off at least an hour in your day, because there ain't no guarantee you're getting out of there in 10 minutes. So anyway, we're talking AJ Styles and CM Punk right about now. This is a situation that's been a week in the making. If you guys don't know the underlining issue, about a week ago, roughly, a fan showed his displeasure with AJ Styles because AJ Styles wasn't talking about George Floyd at all. AJ Styles wasn't mentioning anything about race. So this was sent over to CM Punk, and Phil Brooks, CM Punk, actually responded to this fan. Unprovoked by Styles. Styles didn't need this extra drama, but here's Phil Brooks, always one to take a chance to send a smart aleck reply and try to take somebody down. Because Phil Brooks is the almighty. Phil Brooks is the be-all, end-all. Phil Brooks is Mr. Perfection. He's Mr. I've never touched a drink, I've never touched a cigarette, I've never touched any drug. He's Mr. Perfect. Sorry, Kurt Hennig. That goes to Phil Brooks because everybody else is beneath him. I mean, that's how he speaks. So anyway, AJ Styles isn't talking about all these heavy issues, right? People are different. Different strokes for different folks. But Brooks replies to this fan and says, well, there's another one. That one's been obvious for years. Do you understand what he said? Guys, don't try to stick up for Phil Brooks. Even if you're a big-time Punk fan, let's call it what it is. Read between the lines. Phil Brooks was calling AJ Styles a certain something. I'm not even going to say the fucking word right now because that should not go with AJ Styles unwarranted. Unless you got concrete evidence, that's unwarranted. And that's bullshit. And the last I heard, because Brooks blocked me a long time ago. Me and Brooks have a long-standing feud. But somebody told me Brooks had to take that tweet down. Apparently, that's not even up anymore. So Brooks was either told, dude, take that shit down, or Brooks, no, he done fucked up. But to call somebody who's highly respected like AJ Styles basically what he is calling him, dude, that's fucked up. And Styles stayed silent for a while but in a recent interview, when he was asked how he reacts to something like that, AJ Styles said, "I don't react at all to somebody that I have no respect for anyway." Mic drop. That was the best way you could have responded to a arrogant, conceited, dumb fuck like Phil Brooks. Don't even give him the attention. Literally just said, "I don't react from somebody I don't respect anyway." Do you know how many of the current roster in that locker room right now for WWE, how many of them do not like Phil Brooks, do not respect him? More than the locker room that Punk was involved in when he was wrestling full time. And we already know at least 75%, I say even more, of the locker room did not like Phil Brooks. Brooks said that himself in his own words. Brooks said he wasn't very liked. And at least Phil Brooks admitted that he was a big reason for that. He was an asshole. Those were Brooks' words himself. He admitted he was an ass, and he admitted that he's a big reason why nobody liked him. Well, some things never change. He's still a fucking prick. And now today's locker room doesn't care for this sumbitch. But it's not just dislike. They don't respect Phil Brooks, and that tells you a lot about a man. When you don't respect a peer that's come before you, and they were highly successful, by the way. A lot of us were Punk fans growing up, right? But when you lose that respect because you see the human being behind the facade, bro, that's telling. When AJ Styles, someone who's highly respected by most, if not all, in the wrestling community, when he says so flat out, "I don't react from somebody I don't respect anyway," he said it so matter-of-factly. You could tell Styles never really had respect for Brooks. And if you think AJ Styles doesn't have the pulse of every locker room that he's in, if you think AJ Styles is the only one that feels this way, you're done only fooling yourself. This is the general consensus in the locker rooms. People don't care about Phil Brooks because he's a fucking douche. He just is. You no longer need the amplified man to tell you this. Just look at his own peers, past and present. I think it's pretty obvious when somebody shows you their true colors time and time again, maybe that's around the time where you can start believing those true colors. Just a thought. Anyway, so proud of AJ Styles. In all actuality, it probably should have been fucking squashed days ago, but that shows you where this is on the priority list for AJ Styles. And for anyone that says that Styles with his platform should have said more, listen, I hear you. I said it on this platform when I spoke in several videos about the George Floyd situation, and race here in America especially. I put everything into those videos. Everything. And the rest of the community barely spoke about it, or as passionate as the amplified man, because they were too scared that they were going to lose subs or viewers or this or that. Ad revenue, who the fuck knows, but they were afraid to talk about it. And I said, damn, this would be easier on me if other people helped out and stepped up on their platform. So I hear you. I wish other people stepped up about it. But not everybody is comfortable doing such, or other people are just too scared. And that fear keeps them from making real change, or speaking about how they really feel. Now, sometimes, yeah, silence can mean that they have a separate set of feelings. And hey, that's their prerogative. They have every right to feel however they want. But other times, silence just means they're too afraid. They don't know what the backlash is going to be, and they don't know if they can take it. Or maybe they think that a channel that they spent so long trying to build was going to be demolished, you know? And the price is too high for them, you know? Not everyone's like the amplified man. For me, no matter what I built, it gets destroyed, I'll rebuild it. And it gets destroyed, I'll rebuild it. But I will always step up and stand up and speak out for what I believe in. Not everybody is like that. And in that same interview, Styles went on to say, listen, what we do is just supposed to entertain. We're supposed to be taking people's minds off of all the stresses and the drama in the real world, not add to it. But then you have the people like the LeBron Jameses and all of Hollywood that's saying, with our platform, we should be helping to change the world. It's a battle right now, right? Nobody knows what side of the spectrum to be on. Sports and entertainment. Should they be bringing the drama and the real life situation into the sports and the entertainment world? Or is sports and entertainment supposed to be just sports and entertainment? A place to go to get away from it all? Who knows? Styles is telling you that he believes it should be a place that you go to get away from it all. Who the fuck is Phil Brooks to basically call him what he called him? Because that's what he did. And that's bullshit. And that's in the amplified world. And this is what I didn't want to do. Now I'm screaming at a fucking rest stop. I got fucking people looking at me. I got the Joneses that just pulled up on a family vacation. Mommy, Daddy, look at the wild man. He's screaming. I know, Jimmy, get in the car. We're taking off now. Damn it, Janice, get in the car. That's right. The amplified man's gonna get ya. Anyway, so that's the Styles situation. I'm proud of him. He finally just, he addressed it. What more did you want to say? I don't respect him. That's my reaction. I love it. Another person to come out and just call it like it is. Punk's a douche. Oh, I love hearing those words. And last, I already went so fucking long. Well, not so long. I dedicated 20 minutes to this. I guess we're approaching that. I really got to get going, guys. This is good. I can't leave now because now I'm going to be right behind the Joneses on the highway, and then they're going to think I'm really stalking them. There's a lunatic on our ass. Yeah, baby. Oh boy, this is before I even got my last coffee. So the last thing I want to talk about, guys, is Paul Heyman and Vince McMahon. And of course, if you've been living underneath a rock, then you don't know about this. But if you're the rest of the world, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Paul Heyman has been fired by Vince McMahon as an employee. As the head of WWE Raw Creative, Paul Heyman has been let go. Fired. He is out. Now, he is still under a WWE performer contract. So he will still be performing. I don't see Brock Lesnar returning anytime soon, but possibly. But if not, then they're probably going to pair Paul Heyman up with somebody else. Who? Who do you guys think he would be best with? We've seen him experiment with people in the past. It just doesn't really work. So we'll see. But he is still under contract with WWE as a performer. But as far as an employee, he has been fired. All duties are going to go to Bruce Prichard. I love you. You guys remember Bruce Prichard, right? He's the old Brother Love, man. I used to love that shit, man, in the Brother Love show. A lot of people think that Bruce is just a yes man for Vince McMahon, and you'd be about 80% correct. However, what you wouldn't know, and I said this in just last week, one of those videos I put up last week. I've been putting up so much fucking content, showing how much I love you guys. I love you. But, I put in one of those videos what I had heard directly from the Performance Center, people within the Performance Center, which obviously know a lot more than the Amplified Man does. And they were telling me that Bruce Prichard has been going to battle with Vince McMahon as of late. I told you guys that in one of the videos last week. And isn't it ironic that all of a sudden Bruce Prichard now is going to be pulling double duties? He's going to be leading Raw and SmackDown. When we were hearing that Bruce Prichard is standing up to Vince McMahon more. He's been pissed off with Vince McMahon. He's going toe-to-toe with Vince. He's not being the yes man. And all of a sudden, Vince likes that. Oh, you're going to challenge me, huh? Oh, do you think you can do it better? Well, let's see. He's bringing some storyline back to SmackDown at least. Can he do it on a consistent basis? That remains to be seen. But Bruce Prichard has never shied away from controversial storylines. But more importantly, he's never shied away from doing some big storylines. You look at the storylines underneath Bruce Prichard's jurisdiction over the years and under his belt, and there have been some big ones. I'd be here for the next 40 minutes telling you about some big time stories that Bruce Prichard was helped build and was behind. So you can't just sit here and totally bash Brucifer Prichard. That's right, Brucifer. You can't totally bash him because he's been standing up to Vince and he has produced some good content during his years. Now, which Bruce are we gonna get? Are we gonna continue to get the Bruce that stands up to Vince? Because then you're gonna get good content going forward, or at least better. If you're gonna get the Bruce that Vince will not let be himself, the Bruce that has to be a yes man, then that Bruce is gonna produce the same results. Because Vince McMahon will not let him spread his fucking wings. And when you do the same thing over and over and you expect a different result, that, my friend, is the definition of insanity. So it all depends on what Bruce Prichard we see going forward. I'm not going to totally bash it until I see. What we do know is that under Paul Heyman's guidance, and yes, okay, we understand, you got a loud motorcycle, now can you get the fuck out of here? Oh my God, you ever see these fucking dudes on the motorcycle and it's loud and they want to crank it right in front of you? We understand you have a loud motor. There's a reason there's not a woman attached to behind you. You know why? Because they don't want to be seen with you. Get the fuck out of here. Where the fuck was I? Oh yeah, so you have the Bruce Prichard that if Vince McMahon doesn't let him spread his fucking wings, then there's nothing more he can do. People want to bash him so quickly, they have to remember he can only do so much. McMahon is the final say. Paul Heyman, that's where I was going with this. Paul Heyman, the numbers were not there. There has to be a fall guy in business. I can't stand. It makes me nauseous to think that Paul Heyman is already out after just 12 months. But, and here's a big but, there has to always be a fall guy. We heard word that Paul Heyman wanted at least 18 months to turn things around. But I think Vince saw that after 12 months, and now you're down in the 1.6s and the 1.7s in the ratings, Vince knew that it was going to take way more than 6 more months. So basically, Paul Heyman is the fall guy. Whether he should be or not, that's what's happening. I'm not saying that's correct, by the way. But you have to know, it's business 101. There always has to be a fall guy. And Paul Heyman had to have known, whether he wanted 18 months or 2 years up front, he had to have known that after 1 year, if you fell 4 points in the ratings, because when Paul Heyman took over, they were at least 2.1. You guys remember that? At least. I think they were 2 4s even. But let's just be generous and give him a 2-1. And now you're playing 1.6, 1.7. Now, we understand the wabaka that went around the world after Paul Heyman got hired. We understand that. Trust me, we take that under great consideration. But in business, you don't give a fuck about excuses. You want the guy that you hired to produce results. And Paul Heyman had to have known that after 12 months and seeing a 1.6, 1.7, he doesn't care if there was a worldwide earthquake that just shattered the infrastructure of the world. An excuse was not going to be tolerated by McMahon. So you had to have known after a year, if your ratings were at least not steady, you were gone. A 4 to 6 point drop, that's catastrophic, and that's unacceptable in business. That's in any business. So I don't condone it, but I see exactly why Vince had to make the decision. You have to please your shareholders. You have to make drastic moves. It's like an NFL team or a sports team, right? You could have an amazing coach, but if the team sucks year after year, who do you think is going to be fired? It's not going to be the star players that are on there and they're just not producing the results. It's going to be the coach, because they're going to try to change the infrastructure at the top. And more importantly, they're going to make it known to everybody that big change is coming. Well, how do you do that? You cut the head off the snake. You start right at the top. By changing a coach, even if he's the best coach in the league, you are addressing that big change is coming and that you are willing to do anything and everything. So the coach is always the first one to go. Same thing here. You are sending a message to your shareholders, your stockholders, all that shit. Anybody who's got a hand in the cookie jar for WWE, you're sending a message that big change is coming, don't worry. When, if it's still Vince who's the overall leader, I don't see how real change is coming. You can blame Paul Heyman, you can blame Eric Bischoff, you can blame anybody underneath the sun. But if you're not going to change your ways, Mr. Vince McMahon, then nothing will truly change. If you're not going to let people truly be creative, nothing is going to change. Go ahead. You got a loud motor. Good for you. Another one with no girl to the back of the bike. No girl is clinging on to him. It's just him and his fucking bike. Get the fuck going. Unfucking real. I tell you, when you get down to North Carolina, South Carolina, bikes are huge, man. And trust me, I got family members with bikes, Harley Davidsons. I get it. Badass. Awesome. But when you sit there and you just rev the shit in front of somebody who you clearly see is trying to fucking discuss something, come on, bro. That's just being a fucking douche. You must be friends with Mr. Brooks. Anyway, where was I going? Yes, if Vince McMahon isn't going to change, there isn't going to actually be change. So, again, it's so upsetting to know that Paul, because I have such respect for Paul Heyman. It's so upsetting to know he got fired, but this is business 101. We all saw the numbers tanking. I felt there was glimmers of hope in Raw the past several months. I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel there was some shit every week that was improving. I'm not saying the show was drastically better, but there was a lot of segments every week that I was like, this is good. This is a start. We can build on this. You know, it looked like shit that was actually starting to become really good. And, you know, you started to see it kind of happening. But over time, the numbers didn't show it. Instead, they kept going down because people were losing patience. Nobody wanted to give the ample time needed to guys like Austin Theory or Angel Garza. You know, guys that we know are good, but it's going to take a lot of work to make them stars. People were losing patience. Aleister Black should have already been a fucking star when he got to the roster. Boom. Day number 1, he's a superstar. It took too long. They didn't know what to do with him at first. Then they have him winning some jobber matches. Then they have him getting beat up. You know, he has a fucking couple-minute match with Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania. And then the next night, he's going almost 25 minutes with Apollo. When you book somebody like that, people are not going to care. And that's what they did with so many of these superstars. It just took too long. Unnecessarily, too. Anyway, we could talk about this another fucking hour and a half, but nothing's going to bring back Paul Heyman in that role. Now you have Brucifer Prichard heading Raw and heading SmackDown. But is he truly, or is it going to be Vince McMahon, as always, that has the final say on every fucking segment? And if that's the case, don't expect too much fucking change, because I assure you, it ain't coming. Much love to Paul Heyman, man. I'm glad he's still a performer at least, because I like seeing Paul Heyman, man. And obviously he's awesome on the mic, and he adds so much value to that locker room, not just on camera, but the advice, the thought process that he can give to the younger talent is just, it's immeasurable. It's invaluable. Paul Heyman offers so much to the locker room, and that's a huge void if Paul Heyman is never a part of the locker room or decides to move on in life and do other things. That's a huge void that I don't know how you replace somebody like Paul Heyman. I mean, he is a well of knowledge. So, it sucks, man, but it was clear things were not working. The ratings are now tanking into the mid ones now. You're about to see 1.5, 1.4 over the next projected 6 to 8 weeks, guys. 1.4, 1.5. Could come even sooner than that. And that's dangerous TNA Impact numbers. I always used to make fun of that, saying, what if WWE ever did that? You know, we said it in a joking way. We never thought it was possible. You add in some worldwide wabaka, you add in some crazy scenarios in the world, and people are just disenfranchised with everything going on in life, and you mix it all with just a bad product, and guess what? We are now talking about mid ones, and the only way to go from there is literally 1.0 or under. I don't even want to think about that, because at that point, WWE is in, it's not even panic mode. WWE at that point would be in desperate mode. I mean, if you're 1 point and under, your business is at a huge risk of going under. At that point, there is going to be no Fox waiting to give you $1 billion for a TV deal. There's not going to be any country that's going to give you tens of millions of dollars. Your product is going to be absolutely worthless. And as the money drains out, as you suck the last pennies out of your last remaining audience, where do you go? You're either forced to put on a good product, or you just sell your company, or you go out of business, right? Because if nobody wants to buy your company, WWE is closed for business. We laugh, or we say, oh, that's never gonna happen, but we said that when we were talking about the ratings being in the 1-point some odds. Well, guess what? They're deep into the 1-point some odds. It ain't funny anymore. All right, guys, I gotta really get fucking going. Now we're about fucking half an hour now. BC, you were supposed to be here hours ago, man. I know, man. Like, I'm talking pro wrestling. Priorities. And it's gonna be even longer because now I gotta go get another coffee, and this line just got huge. And because everybody is 6 feet away from one another, it's like wrapped around the fucking building. Unreal. Why couldn't it be like 4 feet or something? You know, like let's squish this line up. You got masks on. To have these people have masks. So you got to wear the mask and still be 6 feet? Is that what I'm gathering? Can it be one or the other? What's the fucking 6 feet if you still have the mask on and you're outside? You can't breathe fresh air? Oh, I'm fucking amplified now. Much love, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the SmackDown review and reaction. Hopefully I'm back in New York and in the office. And obviously Sunday morning, I want to hit you guys with the preview for Backlash, or a little impromptu Sunday morning vid too. Obviously Monday, we're going to do the good, the bad, and the ugly of Backlash. Fuck! We got a lot of content coming, baby. Get your coffees, relax,